Hi, I'm Martin Felsen. Welcome to City Design, where we explore how we shape cities and how cities shape us. This episode, City Origins, is the first in a series on city history. Cities existed long before humans built them. These were complex societies millions of years before us. And when humans finally arrived and created permanent places, initially, they weren't for the living, they were for the dead. So in this episode, we're going back, way back, to find out how and where urban life really began. When we look for the origin of cities, we're tempted to search for early walls, settlements, or monuments. But cities didn't begin with architecture. They began with social activities, with creatures gathering, cooperating, and transforming their environments together. Some animals don't just live in an environment, they remake it. Think of beavers, felling trees, raising dams, building lodges. It's both construction and cooperation. Multiple families sharing the work, improving a common habitat. These places are like tiny, muddy, pre-human neighborhoods. But it's along a very different evolutionary line that we find the closest parallels to our own civilized lives. Long before humans built cities, insects were building urban prototypes. Ants, termites, and bees build structures that are skillfully made and often impressive in size. Their colonies feature divisions of labor, differentiation of castes, farming, and even the domestication of other species. All of this existed in insect empires millions of years before human cities emerged. This isn't biological continuity. We didn't evolve from ants. This is convergence, similar solutions to similar problems. To understand what insect cities can teach us about human ones, we need to understand a concept called emergence. Think of the four ghosts in Pac-Man. Each follows simple rules. None of them know the whole maze, but together they come after you. That's emergence, when simple parts following simple rules produce complex, intelligent-looking behavior that none of them could achieve alone. Consider bird flocking. Those mesmerizing murmurations of thousands of birds moving together. For years, people assumed some lead bird was coordinating the group, but there's no leader. Each bird follows three simple rules. Don't hit your neighbors, match their speed and direction, stay close to the group. That's it. Each bird pays attention to only about 7 nearby birds, not the whole flock. Yet these simple, local decisions create these fluid, coordinated movements that we see sweeping across the sky. When a bird spots a predator, the reaction ripples through the flock, thousands of birds pivoting together without a single command from the top. Ant colonies work the same way. For years, we assumed the queen was running things. She's not. No one's in charge. Instead, each ant follows simple rules. Follow pheromone trails. The stronger the scent, the better the path. Deposit pheromones when you find food or spot danger. React to what's happening nearby. And when nothing's going on, wander randomly until you find something useful. These simple behaviors, repeated by thousands of individuals, allow the colony to solve complex problems far more efficiently than any top-down system could. Today, engineers have borrowed this natural pheromonic logic for the digital world. In swarm robotics, machines are just beginning to leave virtual markers, digital pheromones, that guide other robots without any central command. We'll soon see this pheromone logic showing up in delivery logistics, traffic routing, even cybersecurity, anywhere we need coordination without a complicated control center. For millions of years, termites have been building cities with a pheromone-based collective mind. These mounds are designed like a body, with a respiratory system, inhaling and exhaling through walls that look solid, but are porous like a sponge. The mound breathes. Inside are branching corridors and bubble-shaped chambers. Some are used to cultivate a fungus, which feeds the colony. The termites are constantly remodeling, adjusting the mound to respond to changing conditions. These termites make countless, loosely coordinated, small decisions, but there's no leader, no technocratic master planner, just individuals following simple rules. Deposit materials where you smell pheromones, respond to temperature gradients, adjust when something feels off. This process is called stigmergy, communication through changes in the environment rather than direct signals. The feedback loop between behavior and environment produces what we call superorganisms, structures perfectly adapted to the local climate. Today, architects and engineers study termite mounds to design our own superorganism buildings. A good example is Zimbabwe's Eastgate Center, an office and retail building. It's designed to save energy. Hot air rises through a central atrium and exits through rooftop chimneys. At night, fans pull cool air through the building's concrete skeleton, which stores natural air conditioning for the next day. By mimicking termite mounds, the building uses a fraction of the energy that similar buildings use. The first permanent human settlements weren't for the living. They were for the dead. Early humans rarely stayed in one place for long. They followed game animals and foraged for food. But the dead stay put. The earliest burial grounds, our first landmarks, look something like the work of artist Andy Goldsworthy. He built sculptures from nature, rough stones, twigs, ice, mud, shaped into mounds, cones, and circles. In forests or fields, his landmarks are designed to decay or wash away. In ancient times, the living returned to similar marked or fixed points in the landscape to honor or appease the ancestral spirits. How far back do cities for the dead go? The oldest known intentional burial ground is about 100,000 years old, a cave in the Middle East. What's striking isn't just the age of the burial ground, it's that we recognize the ritual of burial. We still do this. We designate specific places for people to permanently rest in peace. This cultural practice, dedicating ground to memory, seems to be uniquely human. There's a little irony here. In ancient Greece and Rome, one of the first things a traveler saw as they approached a lively city were rows of the dead in tombs lining the road. In Egypt, a civilization obsessed with life, what survives? Temples and tombs, monuments to the afterlife. Even in the modern era, some of our first suburban developments were for the dead, in picturesque cemeteries at the edge of town. Tombs have always been interesting design problems, especially for designers themselves. Mies van der Rohe, the modernist architect of glass and steel, lies beneath a plain, dark slab of honed granite. Minimal, but not exactly his style. This stone was designed by Mies's grandson. The architect Le Corbusier, on the other hand, had plenty of confidence to design his own grave, a modest slab and garden with a pedestal of raw, unfinished concrete, his favorite material. It sits on a hillside overlooking the Mediterranean, nearby the shore where he drowned. Now let's go deeper, literally deeper, into ancient caves. The images are stunning, painted and carved into solid rock tens of thousands of years ago. Hunters running alongside galloping animals, abstract antlered creatures, human handprints pressed permanently against the stone. To reach the painted chambers, a person had to crawl through low passages, descend long vertical drops, squeeze through the darkness. These visits were a collective pilgrimage. Ancient caves were centers of ceremony and sanctuary. Who painted the caves? The theory I find most interesting is that many of these paintings and markings were made by shaman, spiritual intermediaries. A shaman would retreat into the darkness with the help of psychedelic plants and rhythmic chanting. They'd enter a trance state, drawing energy from the cool, echoing rock, and they'd paint visions onto the walls. Cave art gives us a sense of prehistoric life, where altered consciousness and hallucinatory perception shape sacred space. Today, some neuroscientists describe ordinary perception as a kind of controlled hallucination. Think about entering your bedroom at night. In the dark, you think you see a figure on the bed. Your eyes slowly adjust. It's just pillows on the bed. Your brain, predicting a person-shaped thing, assembled one from the shadows. Our brain is constantly doing this, predicting what it expects to see, then checking those predictions against what's actually there. What we call perception is really the brain's best guess. Controlled hallucinations in this view are what happens when the brain's predictions replace reality. What interests me here is that our AI systems, our latest cave-like black boxes, are also said to hallucinate. Sometimes AI predicts patterns in things that simply don't exist. As AI's predictive powers evolve through countless simulations, the line between hallucination and something like consciousness will continue to blur. Ancient caves gave us an early sense of how architectural space can intensify shared experience. Both the cave and burial ground were places people returned to, drawn by something more than practical necessity. These sacred sites came before the permanent settlement. The attractor came before the urban container. That pull, the ability to attract people, remains an essential quality of the city. $400 million. That's how many pets live in the United States today. All descendants of wild animals that our ancestors tamed thousands of years ago. Cities developed as we domesticated nature for food, labor, and companionship. Domestication isn't a single event. It's a process, a long, multi-generational relationship where one species manages another for a steady supply of resources. In Botany of Desire, Michael Pollan argues that plants have been domesticating us for millennia. Plants that satisfy human desires motivate us to spread them across the globe. They've trained us to serve their evolutionary interests. Think of 4 examples. Apples satisfy our desire for sweetness, so we planted them everywhere. Tulips appeal to our love of beauty, so we bred endless varieties and built a global market for them. Cannabis feeds our desire for euphoria, so we've cultivated and protected it. Potatoes feed our desire for control. They're high yield, uniform, reliable. We've made them a global commodity. Pollan calls this the dance of domestication, a co-evolutionary bargain where both partners benefit. So when we burn rainforests for crops and pastures, you could say that the plants are incentivizing us to reshape the planet on their behalf. Sometimes, despite our best interests, we're still being led. In the prehistoric era, tools made directly from nature were about action: chipping, hacking, digging, cleaving, hunting, killing, weapons, and force. But the earliest agricultural revolution brought a different kind of technology: containers. Baskets, bins, barns, even houses, the first containers for living. This shift was monumental. The hunter's belly was once the most reliable container. But once agriculture created surplus, containers stored that surplus in all kinds of ways. Chambers and sealed jars kept animals at bay. Bins and barns made food last between seasons. Storing surplus seeds for next year's planting was a key step in harnessing nature. Surplus. Keep an eye on that word. It's central to the history of cities and to their economy. Surplus drives growth. Surplus enables stability. Surplus fuels profit. The economic engine of every city runs on this ancient idea: produce more than you consume. Surplus also drove innovations in architecture. Over time, the granary became the bank. The storehouse became the arsenal. The archive became the library. The irrigation channel became the water tower. The city itself, it's still a container of containers. The agricultural revolution also created new kinds of leadership models. 2 archetypes emerged. First, the hunter. Initially, hunters were welcome in farming villages. They had weapons and knew how to use them. They could protect the village from wild animals, threats farmers couldn't handle alone. But over time, the protector became the predator. The hunter exchanged the watchdog's role for the wolf's, demanding payment, extracting tribute, offering protection at a price. The villagers submitted. They often had little choice. This is how the hunter accumulated power and became the chieftain. The skill in slaughtering game animals translated easily into dominating humans. Then there was the shepherd. The shepherd is the hunter's better self. Same authority, different values. The shepherd protects rather than preys, nurtures rather than exploits, curbs force rather than wields it. The shepherd cares for the entire flock. The archetype is David, the shepherd who bested Goliath and became king. The shepherd understands something the hunter doesn't, that human and animal life are part of the same ecology. Both archetypes, hunter and shepherd, predator and protector, were part of our earliest settlements. Cities continue to balance both. So, from insects to institutions, the prehistoric city gave us emergence and ritual, storage and surplus, protection and power. In the next episode, we'll watch these elements recombine as the first true cities rise from the river valleys. Thanks for watching City Design. See you next time as we keep exploring how we shape cities and how cities shape us.